Right. A small recap about yesterday's topic. So about this keyword, right? We have discussed about the trending topics on this keyword. You can pass current object as a parameter, right? So when you say this, it means it is going to take the reference of the current object, reference of the current class. And by using the this keyword, it allows you to do the method chaining, right? And after this, like instead of if you're calling a method inside another method, you want to be very specific, very specific, right? You can go for this keyword. So when you say this dot display, it means you are very specific, like in the current class, if there is any display method, that display method needs to get executed. That specification you are giving it here, right? And again, we have discussed about the static context. So like you have static variables and you have static blocks. So we have understood how the static blocks are usually gets executed. Then what else you have seen? Static methods. Any method with a static keyword is called a static method. But there are the behavior of the static method is a bit different from the non-static methods. In one area, what is that area? Especially in the topic of overriding concept, okay, you don't override a static method. Instead of overriding, overhiding happens, right? And why not overriding? So we have seen those examples in the yesterday session. But overloading is possible. Can we overload a static method? Yes, you can overload. It is very similar to the overloading the non-static method. So it works. Overloading works perfectly fine. And we have understood about what final keyword, right? You have final variables which cannot be changed. Okay, once a value is assigned to a variable, that variable cannot be changed. It's going to be fixed forever. So when you have any constants, you keep those constants in a variable which is declared as a final. And you have final variables, you have final, what is it, final methods you have, where you cannot override those methods, right? And you have final classes cannot be extended. Okay? So these are some theory I've given, right? And if you have any questions, okay, you may be getting any there should be a confusion for this finalized keyword and finally keyword. This will be answered in the future topics, right? Don't worry about this. For now, try to do some research from your side. The moment comes those classes, right, I will tell you exactly what is finally and what is finalized. Right? And class today's topic is encapsulation. So very important topic. So when I say very important topic, every topic is important, but if I keep reiterating it, it means you use this concept very often. Encapsulation, okay, because it is going to act as a data carrier. Okay, can we proceed? Can I get yes from everyone? Type yes in the chat box. Good. Encapsulation, right? So what is encapsulation? So this is the definition. Okay, a very simple definition. It is a process of wrapping data, right? So data means variables and code. Code is what? Code is methods. So variables and methods together as a single unit, right? So whenever you have a class, any class if you take, okay, inside a class usually you keep a data, right? For example, string name, something like, let us say the name is Ratna, right? String name. So this is a data, right? And you have some methods, right? So void display method, right? So what is the idea behind the encapsulation is hiding data and the methods, okay? In Java or in any programming language, especially in Java, so for data you call it as properties, or it can also be called as variables, or you can call it as attributes. Okay? So these are the keywords that you have to get acquainted with. Okay, this is called as properties or variables or attributes. Okay, the methods are also called as, okay, you can call it as methods or behaviors, right? They are called as behaviors. So you just wrap the data and behavior, right? Indirectly, it means you're keeping the data as well as the methods in a single entity. In a single entity, right? So that is called as encapsulation. That's what it says. Wrapping data and code together as a single unit. What is that single unit? Class. Inside the class, you wrap the data, you wrap the methods together as a single unit. Okay? It is called as encapsulation. This is the simple definition that I can give. Right? And next follow-up question would be like, how to achieve encapsulation? They will answer you how to achieve encapsulation and why one has to achieve the encapsulation and what are the main goals of encapsulation. Right? So don't look at this theory. Let me give you that for you. Okay. In the real-time example, the question would be like this. For example, let us say that I have a college class and I also have a student class. So I have two classes here. One is college and the second one is students. Let me remove all this. Right? For example, if I say I have a student name something like Ganesh. Okay. For Ganesh, it is like he has to protect. He has to have this data protected. Data should be protected, right? Any kind of data. Name is a data. It needs to be protected. If he's giving this information to like any other institutions or organizations, definitely the data that is providing needs to be protected. He can give his name or he can give his email address. Email address something like ganesh@gmail.com. Gmail.com. Right? So definitely this information needs to be protected. Okay, they are of what type? Definitely string type, right? Both are sequence of characters string type. But this information is not protected. Why not protected? This is part of student class, but outside the student class. For example, there is a college class. Right? The college class can create an object for the student class. College class is a different class. Student class is also a different class. Right? The college class can create an object for student class and it can access the data. Right? If you run this code, what you would see? You would see Ganesh is getting accessed from a different class. The data of student class, okay, the data inside the student class is very easy to be accessed by a class, okay, from a different class. Okay, it is like the security of the code is getting compromised. Yes or no? Anyone can create a class, anyone can create a method, right? And anyone can create an object. So with the help of object reference, definitely the data can be accessed. I want to place some restrictions. What the first rule of encapsulation is, please ensure that all the properties or variables or what we call it as attributes, please ensure that they are provided with private access modifier. Please ensure that they are provided with private access modifier to avoid giving the direct access. When I say private, right? When I say private, now if you see, now the student class can create, I mean the college class, inside the college class, inside the main method, I can create the object for the student class. There are no restrictions for this, but I cannot access the data. Why I cannot access the data? It is protected with private access modifier. Now there is a restriction. Now this data is secured. Okay. This is a first rule of encapsulation. What is the first rule says? Very simple. If you have any properties or variables or behave or what we call it as the attributes, please ensure that the access modifier is private. Now you are getting an error. See, it says the field student name is not visible. Why it is not visible? Because the access modifier is private. I cannot, we run this code also. See, it says error exists in the code. Testing. Proceed with the launch. It says exception. Unresolved compilation problem because the field student name is not visible. Why it's not visible? Private. This is the first rule. What is the first rule? If you have any data, right? Make sure that those data are protected with private access mode. Yes or no? Are we good till now? Yes, no? First rule of encapsulation. Can I get yes from everyone? Come on. Good, good, good. Now the question is how one can give access. Okay, you can grant access in a controlled way. Can grant access in a controlled way. What is that controlled way, sir? I say what is a controlled way? Oh, see, I do not want to give access to the name variable, but somehow, right, indirectly, I should give a way for another class, for college class, to give access to this name variable, not directly, indirectly, right? Then methods will come into the picture. Then the getters will come into the picture. There is a topic called getters. There is a topic called setters. Very, very important topic. I'll tell you what is getters. I will tell you what is setters. Let me remove this once again. Let me remove this once again. Okay. Don't you think that if I am not placing these variables with the private access modifier, I also have an option to modify the data, right? Okay. So I can create an object for the student class. Now what I can do, I can change the name. I can change the name of Ganesh to what? I can change the name of Ganesh to Sudhir. The actual data is getting modified. See, Sudhir. Now Ganesh is becoming Sudhir because I am allowed to do the modification. This class is allowing me to do this modification because the access modifier is what? Default access modifier. No access modifier I'm placing, which means default access modifier, which is allowing me to do the modification. Okay, I can do the modification, I can access. It means I can get the data, I can set the data. Okay, but one should not play with the data. One should not play with the data directly. It is a crime. So now the getters and setters come into the picture. Okay. Okay, now let us go back to the encapsulation first rule. Let us keep this to private. When I keep this private, okay, I am placing a restriction to access this data. I am also placing a restriction to what? To modify the data. Yes or no? For accessing restriction is there, and for modification I am placing the restriction. Now, no one can do any kind of malpractice with this data, right? It is completely protected now. It is giving me error now. Right? The field name is not visible, right? Now remove this. I can create a student object, but I cannot access these variables directly. Okay. Now getters, what getter says? Getter says getter is a method that start with a keyword called get keyword. What is a getter? Getters are nothing but they are simple non-static method. Okay. It is going to start with a get keyword. Right? What is the variable name here? Okay, if you want to get access to the name variable, I should create a getter. Okay. Get should be appended with the name variable. How the name should be? Get followed by the actual name variable, which is name here. Okay, and follow the camel case naming convention. Okay, this first letter, the first letter of the first word should be in lowercase. The first letter of the consecutive word should be in uppercase. So I would say get name. So this is the name of the method. The name of the method. Okay, I should keep the return type as what? String. Why string here? Because name is of string data type, right? And the access modifier has to be public. What I will be returning? Return. That's it, getter. Okay. This getter is for the name variable. Ideally now, indirectly, I will be able to get access to this name variable to this get name method. When I call get name method, system.out.println, when I say s.getName, right? So get name method is getting called. Okay. It is simply returning the value inside the name variable, which is Ganesh. This is the rule number 2. What is the rule number 2? You can grant access to the private variables. You can give the value of the private variables through getters. What is a getter? Getter is a method. How to define a getter? Just use the get keyword. This is the rule. Okay. Keep the get keyword, right? Append that with the variable name, which is the name itself here, and follow the Pascal case naming convention. I'm sorry, camel case naming convention. Right? Very simple. Don't think much. Huh? If I have something like let us say integer age equal to 25. If I want to design a getter for this, let's say private age. Integer age equal to 25. If you want to design a getter, what is a getter? Use the get word. Okay, append that with the variable name, which is age here. Age first letter should be capitalized. Method. And data type is what? Integer. So that should be the return type. And this should be public. Okay. And return what? The moment you call the get age method, return the age itself. Okay. When the end user is trying to access the variable directly, when the end user is trying to access the variable directly, so when I say directly, this is directly. He cannot access the private variable directly, but he can access this variable through the getter. Through the getter. You can call this. Okay, this will interact with this will interact this variable. You may be thinking, sir, this is private. How this method can get the value of private variable? Because private variable is part of the same class, right? This get method and the private this age variable both are part of the same class. So private is meant for getting access. We mean for restriction access for the references for the outside the classes, not within the class. Within the class they get access. So through getters, the access to this variable is granted. Indirectly I'm saying. Right? This is the rule number 2. If you want to give access to the private variable, you should give that through getters. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? Rule number 2. Rule number 1 is keeping the data, keeping the variables, everything in private, guys. I mean, the data, the variable should be declared as private. Rule number 2 is if one wants to get access to the private variables, it has to be done through getters. Have you got what is a getter now? Yes, no? Everyone? Oh, well, okay. Fine. Okay. Let us say that, okay, I want to pass this value, let us say that I want to modify this value. I just want to do what? I want to modify this value. Or I want to set a new value. I cannot set the new value directly with this reference. To set a new value, I should go for setters. What is a setter? It is a method again. What is a setter? It is a method. Right? It starts with the keyword set. Okay. It starts with the keyword set. And upon this, upon the word set with the variable name, which is name itself. Set name. Use the camel case naming convention. So name of the setter method is done. For the setters, the return type should be void. Setter will be consuming exact the same thing. The string name, whatever the data type is here, whatever the name is here, same thing will pass here. Right? So since it is a local variable, you collect it and you transfer that to the class level variable so that we use this keyword. Already discussed topic. And declare the method as public. Setter is done. Right? Now with the help of setter, ideally what I can do, guys, okay, s dot set name. Now I can modify. Instead of Ganesh, I can say Sudhir. After modification, if I access, okay, s dot name, s dot is what we call it as s dot get name. Now I will be getting what? The value as Sudhir instead of Ganesh. First one is Ganesh. already there. Now it is getting modified with the help of setter. So now it is going to be shown. So getters are there to get the value of private variables. Setters are there to set the values of private variables. As simple as that. If you have any variable, if the variable needs to, for example, if you want to follow the encapsulation concept, make sure that the variable is declared with private access modifier. Make sure every variable is having what, a getter as well as a setter. Every variable. Now we have done with the name variable. Same thing we have to do for the email variable also. Right? You do not really have to do the things like this. You can remove this everything. You can remove everything. There is a shortcut here. Remove everything. To generate setters, right click, source. You see an option like generate getters and setters. Click on that. Select all. Generate. Right. So they are generated automatically. Okay, for name variable, you have getter, you have setter. For email variable, okay, you have getter, you have setter. Making sense now? This is what encapsulation. What is encapsulation? Okay, wrapping up the data and the methods together into a single entity. What kind of data I'm talking about? What kind of method I'm talking about? I'm talking about the data. Okay, the confidential data. Any data that is confidential, right? Okay, this data you collect usually in the real-time application. You collect this data from the front end, right? Those things we will discuss how these things will work out. There will be an integration with the front end apps and the back end app. Front end, the user inputs Ganesh and the user inputs the email address. You collect that and you set it these variables, right? So the backend application won't cannot touch these variables directly. If the backend application needs to get access to this variable, it can happen through getters. The data needs to be modified, it has to happen through setters. So this concept is called as what, encapsulation. Now we have understood what is a getter, now we have understood what is setter. Okay, so let me remove this. Let us do these things in the runtime. I'm not setting any values here. I'm not setting any values here. In the interview question, there would be a question like how to set the data to the instance variables. How to set the data to the instance. What would be the answer? Anyone? Can anyone answer to this question? How to set values to the instance variables? We have discussed this. Anyone? Anyone who can think better? Anyone who have remembered that concept? How to set values to the instance variables? We have completed this topic day before yesterday only. That's through constructors. You need constructors, right? Do you agree with me? Yes, no? Hello? Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Through constructors, no? It is a topic of discussion, right? We have discussed these things already through constructors, right? Okay. I can generate a constructor, right click here, source. There is an option called generate constructor using fields. Okay. Choose the field name and the email, select all, generate. Constructor is getting generated automatically. Right? Remove the super keyword, not necessary. It will create a content. We know the super keyword is there. Right? So by using this, we can set values to what? To the instance variable. So now by using this, we can set values to the instance variable. And also, right, by using setters, we can set values to the instance variable. I will tell you how, okay? And remember one more thing, whenever you have the no argument, the parameterizer constructor, please also keep an empty no argument constructor. This is the rule. Okay. Now see how, the moment I start creating an object for the student class, how the values can be set and how the values can be kept. You'll understand this. This college class is a separate class, the student class is separate. Okay. I have an option to set the values through constructors. I can pass the name Ganesh here, right? I can pass the age, define. Okay, so S1 data, student 1 data, right? I am passing the okay email, not age. Email is what? Any abc at the rate gmail. Okay. So S1 object has two values, Ganesh and abc. So how I have set the values through constructor. And also if I'm creating another object, let us say student is to equal, instead of I will simply call the nor constructor. By using this reference, I can set values to the instance variable. Set name. Okay, the name can be this time clear. Okay. S2 dot set email. Email can be like YZ at the rate. Let us run this code. Let us imagine this better in the paintbrush. What are the advantages that we are getting with setters? That imagination will get now. So this is the which class? Student class, right? So one more class is what? The college class. See, now for the object is created. Now this time, first time S1 object is created, right? For the new keyword, for this new keyword, a memory gets allocated, and the name is what? S1. So directly we are passing the values into the constructor. Okay, Ganesh and abc at the gmail.com. So these values will be consumed by this name and the email variable, and they are going to assign it to the instance variables, right? So in the memory, every time the object will allocate memory for instance variables, right? So name becomes Ganesh, so that is the value which is being set, and email becomes what? Email becomes abc at the rate email. Okay, so we have used constructor to set values to the instance variables. These two are the instance variables. We are using a constructor here. We are using a constructor here. Okay. Now look at for Sudhir what is happened for the student S2 data, right? For the new keyword, an object is getting created. Right? This is S2. Right, and this student is what? It is calling an empty constructor, right? You are just calling an empty constructor, but with the help of this S2 reference, you are calling set name method, right? So this is the set name method and set email method, right? So set name method is consuming the name itself. Set email method is consuming the email itself. Okay? Name method is consuming name, and that name is getting assigned to the transferred to the instance variables. Email is consuming an email. Okay, the local variable is assigned to the instance variable email, right? So the data is getting assigned through setters for the student S2 object. Okay, so we know this. Okay, whenever the object is created, by default it is going to allocate memory for the instance variables, but how the values are, how the data is getting set, so that is the question. Okay, for the S1 case, it is getting set through constructors, and for the S2 case, it is getting set through what? Set through setters here, and x, y, z are the right element. Understood the difference between constructor and a setter? Are you getting? Both are same, no? Don't you think that both are doing the same job, setting values to the instance variables? Yes or no? Constructors and setters, aren't they doing the same job? They are just setting the values to the instance variables. Do you notice any key difference here? Okay, you have to observe one key difference. Okay, Advantage of using setters is you do not have to follow the order. You do not have to follow the order. You can do the vice versa also. Firstly, you can set name. Firstly, you can set email. Or secondly, you can set name. Or you can set name only, optional. If you want, you can set name only. You can leave the email as empty. Null value will be assigned by default, taken by default. No order can be, you are not supposed to worry about the order. You are not supposed to, ensure that all the variables are values to the variables are assigned. That things are not necessary, in for the setters. But for the constructors, definitely you have to follow the order. Definitely, okay, if your constructor is fully parameterized constructor, firstly you should pass, okay, first constructor you should pass. If it is a name, you should pass name only. If it is email, you should pass email only. In this case, you have only 2 variables. In the future, you might be having 10 variables. Okay, we should remember the order, right? What happens if I just do the opposite? Instead of passing the name as the first value, if I pass xyz at the gmail.com in the first argument and Ganesh as the second argument, okay, the data gets corrupted, right? By using constructor, don't you think the data gets corrupted? But still it will accept, okay? The system does not know because it will just assume the data type. This is string. System does not know whether this is the name or this is the email. It does not know. It will know only what kind of data you are passing. It is a string. It is a string. But you have to remember the order, right? Drawback, no constructor. Don't you think there is a drawback for the constructor in this case? But if you go for setters, no such drawbacks. Guys, are you getting what I'm trying to say? Yes, no. Is something, no? Are you able to follow? Your response is required, or else I might be thinking they're not getting. So order is not required. Order is mandatory for the constructor. For 2 variables, you can remember the order. If you are dealing with 10 or more than 10 variables, it is going to be a mess for you because remembering the order leads to making the mistakes. But for setters, it's not like that. Directly, you will get a suggestion, right? If you want to set name, you have to set name. If you want, if it gives you set email, you have to set email. Right, now go back to the thing. Okay, setters, we know we are going to set values. Okay, now the getters, see the getters, system.out.println, system.out.println. By using s1 reference variable, I can get the values of what, the values that are there inside the s1 object. By using s1 reference variable, I can get the values that are there in the s1 object. Okay, get email. Likewise, s2 dot get name, s2 dot get name. So getters are used to get the values. Okay, in the interview question, how many ways you can set objects to the instance variables? What you can answer? You can answer either by constructor or either by setters. What is the difference between setting a value to constructors and true setters? In constructors, you need to remember the order, but for the setters, you no need to remember such thing. Okay, even though if you fail to set any value, default value will be considered. But for the constructors, like, it is mandatory for you to pass all the values. If you forgot to pass any value here, okay, the object will not get constructed. You will get an error here. It's mandatory for you to pass a value because you're dealing with 2 argument constructor. Definitely, it is mandatory for you to pass 2 values. You cannot keep a value empty here. You cannot pass only one value. Definitely, you have to pass 2 values. If it is a 10 argument constructor, definitely you have to pass 10 values in the ordered fashion. Okay, abc@gmail.com. Right? The getters are used to get values. So now there is a kind of what? There is a kind of, now you don't see anything, right? Sir, what is the difference when I keep it private and I am allowing these variables to be accessed through what we call it as through setters and getters? Okay. In the real time scenario, there will be some situations. Situations like when I say situations, okay, let me take one more example here for the better clarity. Okay, I want to take a class. Now focus on this class. Things will make more sense. Right? I want to create a class like bank account. Right? My class name is what? Bank account class. Okay. So my bank account, for the simplicity, I'm considering only one variable, which is what? Which is balance. Balance is usually what? In the double type, right? Okay. So I am constructing a constructor. Okay, let me construct a constructor. File source, generate constructor using this. Okay, even though the variable is private, but still I want to assign values to this variable in a controlled manner. Okay, when I say controlled manner, let me say that this variable is initial balance. Name of the variable is initial. Purposefully, I'm changing this initial balance. Okay, what I'm trying to do, I will check. I will check if initial balance is greater than 0. Don't worry, what is this? Okay, this is a conditional check. If it's a conditional check, okay, if it is returning true, then this block is kept. This block, the instructions inside this block will get executed. This is just a kind of conditional check. I collect the value through constructor. Okay, and firstly I will do the conditional check. Only if the balance is greater than 0, okay, then this dot balance equal to initial balance. I will assign it to the instance variables. Even though you want to assign a data to the private variable, now I am doing that in the controlled way. I am doing that in what way? Controlled way. I'm making, see, in your house, right? Okay, you have access to some rooms, and if the relatives comes to your house, usually they don't get access to all the rooms, right? There are some restrictions, right? So for example, bedroom or locker, right? Neighbors, or when relatives comes, you don't say like, okay, relatives cannot go to your house locker, they cannot open the locker, they cannot say how much money you have, how much jewelry you have, how much sovereigns of gold you have. Restrictions are there, right? Because here I am talking about the etiquettes, but actually it is etiquettes as well as it's not possible, right? There are some restrictions for relatives, but if it is for family members, definitely access will be granted to the bedroom or to the locker. How the conditional check is happening here? Conditional check is usually happening only if you are the daughter or son to your father and mother, you have access to the locker, right? So indirectly there is a conditional check. Outsiders don't have access. Likewise, if someone wants to get access to the private variable, or if someone wants to deal with this private variable, the dealing is happening to the controlled manner. This time control is there. Only if the initial balance is greater than 0, set it, or else display a message like system.out.println, please enter positive, or else access to, you can't set. The variable is private. This access is being granted through what? Through the public constructor. But now this time in a controlled manner, a conditional check is happening. What is this conditional check? Nothing simple. You place a condition. If this condition is getting satisfied, okay, actually the value will be set. If it is not getting satisfied, this message will be displayed in the console. Let us check this. Let us check this from the main method. This is the main method, isn't it? Okay. Let me create an object. Bank account e equal to new bank account. Okay, this, if I pass a negative balance, right, 0.00f, what kind of balance is this? I'm passing a negative balance, right? I'm trying to set the value to the instance variable, not directly through the constructor, but even though, right, you are going to deal with the private variable indirectly, this time you are doing that in the controlled manner. A kind of verification is happening here, right? If I run this piece of code, do you think that the balance will be set now? What is happening? You cannot set balance because you are passing a negative balance. Okay? Only if you pass a positive balance, something like 1000 f, right, this conditional check will be satisfied. You are allowed to set the balance comfortably. Balance is set. You're not able to see that, but balance is set. You're not getting any error message. If you want to see, if you want to check that, you need to use, now you need to have the getter, right? Because this is a private variable, you should have the getter. But the balance is set here. You're not getting any error. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? Yes, no? Anyone? Come on, guys.
Yes.
What about others? Right? You are thinking, right? Always there is a lot of confusion. See, even in the YouTube videos, I have seen a lot of classes, right? So they don't usually tell this. Sir, you are saying the variable is private. Then what's the point of declaring this as private? You can declare it public instead of using getters and setters. Directly, this can be accessed, right? That is always the question, kind of question that is left unanswered. This is the answer. You want, you can give the access in the controlled way. Through constructor, you can set values. Okay, how we are going to do that? Let us increase the complexity. Now you see. Okay, so let me add what I just want to generate the getter here. Constructor is fine. This is a constructor. Now getter public double. How I can, what is a getter? Starts with get. Okay, and use the variable name which is balance. Okay, return balance. Okay. Now I have generated a getter. Now with the help of this getter, okay, definitely I can able to get the value of what? Get the value of instance variable. Okay. System.out.println b dot getter get balance. I'm sorry, get balance, right? Get balance. 1000. Previously, because since it's a private variable, I should depend upon the getter. Right? Even for this, I can place a conditional check here. Even for this, I can place a conditional check. Sir, what kind of conditional check I can place? I can say the person is Balaji. Only for Balaji grant access. Only for Balaji if name dot equals. This is also a kind of condition. Name dot equals Balaji. Okay. Return balance. Okay. Yes. It is not Balaji. Else return a dummy balance like 0.0. Conditional check for the getters also. I can I can get the data in a controlled way. I can place some conditional check. Now you see, I have to pass a name here. It's the name should match the name that this getter is expecting. Balaji I'm passing. If I pass and if it is matches, then I could be able to see the balance. Instead of Balaji, if I pass, let's say that if Ganesh is trying to access to my house locker, right? I mean access to my bank account, right? For Ganesh, the validation will be incomplete, right? The validation is not satisfied, right? So he will be getting the default one 0 0, right? Something like you can print a message saying that okay, invalid person. Something like this, a meaningful message, invalid person, right? Controlled way getter. Okay, let me remove this. I'm just keeping for the understanding. I have given all this. Okay, if you want, you can place this kind of conditional check to get the value of the private variable. The conditional check. That's it, as simple as that. Okay. Now what else I want to do? Okay, I want to get balance, then I want to set balance, or else instead of setting balance, you can what? You can say like public void setter set balance. Okay, double amount. Here also you can perform a validation. What kind of validation? It's the amount that you are depositing. The amount that you are depositing should be greater than zero. So not be a negative amount. If it is only greater than zero, you would say the actual balance will become balance plus amount. What does it really mean? You pass some amount through the setter. Let us say you pass 100 rupees or 100 rupees. Already the balance is 1000, right? You're passing 100 here. Okay, if the amount is greater than zero, then this arithmetic operation will be completed. Okay? Balance is 1000 plus 100. The balance will be manipulated to new balance will be set to 1100, and in a controlled manner, in a conditional way, you are performing this operation. Right? I'm keeping on utility method here. What is it? Public void withdraw method. Now see usually how the ATM works. Okay, the simple logic is you pass an amount, right? You pass some amount, form of double value. You pass some amount. Definitely there will be a conditional check. Okay, what kind of conditional check? If amount is should be greater than zero, first condition. And don't worry about these logical operators. I will explain you. These are the future class. So just stick to the encapsulation topic. I'm just trying to explain you how the private variables are. How we can get access to the private variables. How we can set values to the private variable in the controlled way. That is the actual topic. And what about this if? And what about this logical operator? We will see that. Okay. For now, it is like a conditional check. Only if this condition and if this condition is getting satisfied, the particular code in the if block will get executed. Okay. Second one is amount should be lesser than, withdraw amount I'm talking about, lesser than or equal to actual balance. You cannot withdraw more than balance, right? If this condition is getting satisfied, reduce the balance. Balance equal to balance minus. After reducing balances, what is it? Your account
Balance got mistake, yes.
balances plus balance. Right? Before this, I can say your account balance is before withdraw. Your account balance before withdrawing plus balance. Concatenating, that's it, plus balance. Okay, and this operation, your account balance after withdrawal. Withdraw plus balance. Not it. You want to plus. I'll give you this code, okay? So this is the conditional check happening. Only if this condition is satisfied, all this logical operation has to get executed. Okay, let's start executing this. Let's start executing our code. Firstly, let me set the initial balance. Okay, if I set the initial balance as -1, okay, what happens? You're dealing this bank account is a constructor. It is trying to set value to the instance variables, but the instance variable is private. Since it is a private, we are depending upon what? We are depending upon the constructor to set value. But this constructor is a very specialized constructor. Okay? You are setting it through the controlled manner. The logic is there inside the constructor which says only if the balance is positive balance, set the value. You are getting an error because balance is negative. Let us say that my initial balance is something like 10,000. Okay? Next one. Initial balance is set. Next, what I want to do, I want to get the balance now. I visit the ATM. I just want to see how much balance I have. Okay. Get balance. I have 10,000. After seeing this, what I want to do, okay, I want to withdraw. Okay. So then, for the simplicity, if we want, you can take the method as with something like deposit as well. No issues. Okay. We want to add new amount, right? I can say b dot set balance. Okay. I want to deposit some amount. Okay. I am saying I am depositing 1,000. Okay. After depositing it, I want to see the new balance. 10,000 after depositing it, it becomes no, what is it? 11,000. Right? Then I want to withdraw now. How much I want to withdraw? B dot withdraw. I want to withdraw 10,000. Okay. What is it? Your actual balance, I have deposited 11,000. Your account balance before withdrawing 11,000. You want to withdraw 10,000. Your account balance after withdraw 1,000. If I'm trying to withdraw something more than my balance, let us say I want to withdraw 20,000, but I have only 10,000. Okay, it should not happen, right? It should not happen, and also I should display a message like, hey boss, we have this balance. Okay, now you see, hey boss, you have less balance. I'm trying to withdraw the amount which is more than my balance. If I just put this in paintbrush, very beautiful concept. This is how ATM applications are designed. I mean, this is the idea behind designing the ATM applications. Not exactly like this. This is the logical entity. Okay, this is how it works. Okay. This is my okay. Why I am giving you this much? Very simple. When I say private, I am placing a restriction that my private variable cannot be accessed directly. If I want to access my private variable, or if I want to set values to my private variable, I can set values through constructor. Also, I can set values through what? To setters. If I want to get value to my private, get value from a private variable, I can use getters. Right? But setting values and getting values for the private variable can also happen through the controlled manner, through the conditional checks. Okay. If I do not have this option, right? If I do not have to worry about this conditional check, I can just keep it public here. What's the problem in there? Data only, I can keep public. Anyone can access, right? I cannot do that. Okay, because if I keep private and through the controlled manner, I can grant access. Through the conditional check, I can give access, or the people who wants to see the data, they can get access to the controlled manner. People who want to set data, they can get access to the set their data through the controlled manner. Right, and this is the business logic. I have just added this just to explain you how these ATM applications work. Just added this. This is called encapsulation. What is the first rule? All the variables has to be what? All the variables has to be private. All the data has to be private. What is the second rule? To get the data, you should use getter. What is the third rule? To set the data to the private variable, you should have the getters. Right? And also you can set the data to the private variable through constructors. Making sense? Encapsulation? Yes, no. Finding any difficulties here? Very simple, no? One. No, usually I take almost 5 to 6 classes for encapsulation, but I have covered that in a single class because this is enough for the Selenium subject. Making clear Balaji, Ganesh, Pavani, Parimi, Sunita, Sudhir. Right? One more thing.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. One more thing. So there is a class called object class. I have said that object class is the mother of all classes. Object class is the super class of all the classes. Right? I have given theory for that. Okay. So I just want to give you, no, let us go back to the college class. This is our student class, right? Now, listen here. This is our student class, right? I have name, I have email. Right? I have two fields, right? Now, what I want to do is in the main method, let me remove this. Main method, I want to create an object. Student is equal to new. So just print the reference variable as. If I run this code, I see some garbage value. See some garbage value. But I want to see what I want to see the actual data that the student variable is going to. For example, if I pass something like, yes, if you get disconnected, rejoin. 5 minutes topic. If I pass something like from at the rate .com. My intention is I want to see this information. I want to see the details of the object. I want to see what values that object is holding. That is my intention. But I am seeing some garbage value. If you want to see the actual values, very simple. In the student class, I just have to overwrite the student. I mean, overwrite the toString method. ToString. You know what is an override, right? ToString method is part of the object class. Okay, every class gets the extends to object class. In the object class, there is a toString method. Okay? Whenever you are trying to access the reference variable directly, whenever you're trying to get access to the reference directly, that toString method of object class is getting called. This is the culprit here. This is why you're getting this garbage value. There is some logic there inside this toString method that is printing this reference value. I want to override that. I want to print the actual data. Ram@gmail.com. Okay, what I can do simply, there is an option. Okay, right click. Source. There is an option called override toString method will be there. Generate toString method. Click on that. Okay. Select the fields. Click on generate. Okay. ToString method of object class will be overridden now. Now, if you say for the same information, if I just try to print the reference variable, now I don't see any garbage value. I see the actual data that the student object is holding now. It's an added advantage. Name Ramu, email Ramu. For example, if I create another student object, student s1 equal to new student. Okay. Now this time I'm using setters to set value for the student object s2. Set name. Thank you for rejoining, guys. Okay. Now you see, I was telling we can set the values to the instance variables by using setters. So through S1, I am just setting value as let us say Pavan, right? So S object is holding Ramu and Ramu at the rate both the information, right? If I just try to get access to this reference, or if I want to print the reference variable directly, I would see what I would see name as Ramu, email as Ramu or gmail.com. Likewise, if I try to get access to the S1 object, now in the S1 object, I have set only a name, not the email address. Now you see email address will become null. Default value will be there. Do this attach, okay? So when you want to print the actual data, okay, you can do what? You can just take this reference variable and put it in the system.out.println. But you have to do what? You have to override the toString method. If you are not overriding this, if I just remove this, then the object class, okay, in the object class there is a toString method. That logic gets executed, and when that logic is getting executed, so this is what you see in the console. If you do not want to execute that logic, you need to keep a barrier. Okay, you want to ensure that you are overriding that logic. Okay, what is that logic? ToString method. ToString method you need to override. You can do that through through Eclipse, like right click, source, generate ToString, select all fields, and generate. So that is gets overridden, and the meaning, the actual information of the object that you are setting will get displayed in the console. Run this actual information. For example, let us say if I create another student, S2 equal to new student. For S2, I just want to set the email address. Let us say that Smita, I print S2. In the S2 object, I am setting email, not the name. Only email I have set. Okay, if I just print that reference variable, for the name you see that you see the email. Right. So what which is actually doing is toString method. What is where is the toString method? ToString method is part of object class. Now, what is the object class? Okay, I have given the theory for that. Object class. Okay, it is the root or superclass of all the classes. Every class in Java implicitly extends the java.lang.object class either directly or indirectly. Right? Why object class is important? It has some common functionalities. Every class, see, human beings, what are the common things that is necessary for us? Food, shelter, and job, right? Money. Likewise, for every class, there are some necessary functionalities. Those functionalities are there in the object class. They are in the form of methods. Totally, there are 11 methods inside the object class. Today, I have discussed about toString method. Going forward, you will understand about equals method. Equals method, hash code method is there, clone method is there, get class method is there, finalize method is there. Okay. As the Java topic goes on, everything will be introduced. So totally there are 11 methods. If you have time, you can buy out this 11 methods. So there are high chances that you will get a question like, what is an object class? In theory, you can answer. Sometimes they would ask, how many methods are there in object class? 11 methods are there. Sometimes if your luck is very bad, they will ask you, can you name those 11 methods? Be in a position to tell those 7 methods. They don't ask you what this method does, what the method does. If you're answering this is more than enough for the tester.